There is a deadly poison in our world and you could be in danger right now. This is an extremely lethal plant toxin, so potent that just a few grains are enough to kill a human. Do you want to know what this poison is? First, let's talk a little more about the plant that produces this toxin. The poison is exactly in the seeds of this plant, seeds that were used as ammunition for games and wars in many people's childhoods. Its seeds are rich in oil and are used to make soap, lubricants, and even biofuels. But what is a toxin exactly? What does it do? Well, it is a highly toxic protein that acts as a poison to the protein system. In other words, it prevents cells from producing proteins necessary for the body. Exposure to this poison can be fatal if inhaled or injected because the body cannot produce enough proteins to survive. A dose as small as a few grains of salt is enough to kill an adult human. This substance is called ricin and is found in the seed of the castor plant. The average lethal dose of ricin is about 22 micrograms per kilogram if exposed by injection or inhalation. By ingestion, the lethal dose is much less toxic and can be up to 20 to 30 milligrams per kilogram. And what are the symptoms of this toxin? Well, they usually appear a few hours or even a day after exposure and are caused by a failure to create vital proteins. These symptoms include fever, cough, shortness of breath, chest pain, nausea, vomiting, diarrhea, seizures, and coma. And then, the toxin can easily be found in residues from the production of castor oil, but it can be purified from the water-based phase of the oil extraction process. However, it can be genetically altered and used in cancer treatment, being able to destroy malignant cells. But how is this possible? Well, the answer lies in so-called antibody toxin hybrid molecules. For these molecules to be specifically targeted at cancer cells, the antibody must be produced to recognize only antigens present on these cells, or in other words, tumor markers. And that's when ricin comes into play. Monoclonal antibodies are produced in labs and have protein receptor sites that recognize specific cells in a tumor. They are paired with ricin, which can be directly taken to the tumor site in a cancer patient. Ricin A chains are the most toxic and can demolish tumor cells without damaging the patient's healthy cells. This is a significant discovery, as immunotoxins provide a promising alternative to the harmful side effects of current cancer treatments or other therapies for viral infections like HIV. Castor oil also has industrial use in the production of paints, lacquers, plastics, and adhesives. And do you know the secret behind all this? Ricinoleic acid, which makes the oil extremely viscous, mixable with alcohol, and resistant to high and low temperatures. One study showed that people who consumed castor oil experienced a decrease in constipation symptoms. But be cautious. Ingesting in high quantities can lead to side effects like abdominal cramps, nausea, vomiting, and diarrhea. And castor oil is not recommended for treatment of long-term issues. Furthermore, ingesting castor oil for medicinal purposes is not recommended for pregnant women, nursing mothers, children, and people with intestinal obstruction or perforation, Crohn's disease, ulcerative colitis, or any other intestinal problem. Recently, the British military developed an antidote for this toxin, but it has not yet been tested in humans. Meanwhile, the American Army has already developed a safe and effective vaccine that has already been tested on laboratory rats and mixes antibodies with blood from the castor bean substance itself. Researchers face the challenge of decreasing the chances that the immunotoxin will attack the wrong cells while maintaining its ability to attack cancer cells. The toxin, which is called ricin, was once used as a substitute for some medical treatments, but there are now more effective treatments. The armies of some nations have already used ricin as a biological weapon, and it's hard to believe. During World War I, The United States studied its potential as a weapon, but this idea was not pursued. In World War II, the United States and Canada studied the use of ricin in cluster bombs, but these initial tests were unsuccessful. The Soviet Union also had ricin weapons, and there is speculation that the KGB, a Soviet secret service, used the substance on several occasions, but it was never approved. In 1978, Bulgarian dissident George Markov was killed by the Bulgarian secret police being poisoned with a ricin-based substance using a modified umbrella. After this, Markov died a few days later in the hospital. Despite ricin's extreme toxicity, it is very difficult to prevent its production. It can be easily found in castor oil manufacturing waste, and there are no approved therapeutic treatments entirely based on ricin. In an attempt to send a letter containing ricin to the White House, the home of the US president, in 2003, a person identifying themselves as Fallen Angel sent an envelope with the same poison to the president's residence. US authorities tightly control all letters heading to the White House. There are nearly 10,000 per week, and the screening process involves no less than 50 people. This alone is enough to demonstrate how seriously security at this location is taken. According to the renowned journalist from the Washington Post, a letter can take up to a month to reach the US president. Interestingly enough, only 10 letters are forwarded to him each day. But is all this caution genuinely needed? Sadly, yes. Since Barack Obama governed the country in 2008, the American Secret Service has intercepted at least 6 letters addressed to him that pose some form of threat. On another occasion, in 2013, an actress who previously worked on the TV series The Walking Dead was sentenced to 18 years in prison for trying to poison former US President Barack Obama. Surprisingly, she decided to send letters containing this poisonous substance to the former president and the mayor of New York. Eventually, she was convicted of possessing a toxin used as a weapon and will have to serve 18 years in prison, in addition to paying a fine of $367,000. And let's not forget that ricin was also known for its presence in a famous TV series, Breaking Bad. A chemist who begins to produce methamphetamine to support his family after discovering he has cancer used ricin on 2 occasions to try to eliminate his enemies. If you've ever come into contact with the castor bean plant, from now on, take the necessary measures to avoid exposure to this fatal toxin. Thank you for staying with us until the end, and see you in the next video.